All right, folks, welcome back to the Crisis Report. This is your alert, September 18th, 2025. We are brought to you by Augusta Precious Metals. If you're into putting your IRA, possibly exploring putting your IRA into a gold and silver account, Augusta Precious Metals is the company to do it. They are Better Business Bureau rated, highly touted as one of the best companies out there. Check them out. All right, here we go. This is your Crisis Report alert for September 18th, 2025. Jimmy Kimmel spotted using a decoy vehicle to leave his studio after being indefinitely suspended. Brigitte Macron will present scientific and photographic evidence in a U.S. court to prove she is a woman. Barack Obama warns that cancel culture is now a serious concern, accusing the Trump administration of taking it to unprecedented and dangerous heights. Trump says we have to remember October 7th, one of the worst, most violent days in the history of the world. UK's Starmer has gotten a pat on the back from Trump, saying what happened on October 7th was the worst attack since the Holocaust. We have extended family in Israel. Intel shares have skyrocketed 25% after NVIDIA's investment deal. Trump has sped up mass deportation campaign, according to the Daily Wire. Trump says that he's trying to get back Bagram Air Base from Afghanistan. UK Starmer says that he protects free speech jealously and fiercely. If he did so, sir, you wouldn't be putting 30 to 40 people a day into jail for saying things online. Trump says that Putin has really let him down over Ukraine. United States government is expected to classify the situation in Brazil as a hostage diplomacy, claiming political persecution by the Supreme Federal Court against former President Jair Bolsonaro. Measure allows the U.S. to intervene as the order authorizes actions in defense of national interests, even involving foreign citizens. If this interpretation gains traction, the United States could pressure Brazil or even take direct diplomatic measures in defense of Bolsonaro, increasing tensions between the two countries and further undermining the image of the Brazilian court on the international stage. A shooting incident has occurred at the Allenby crossing on the Israeli-Jordanian border. According to reports, 3 individuals arrived from the Jordanian side of the crossing, opened fire, killing at least 1 Israeli. The attackers reportedly shouted "Free Palestine, Free Gaza" as they began to shoot. IDF has issued an urgent warning to residents of Mais al-Jabal, Kfar Tebnit, and Dibin in southern Lebanon to evacuate specific buildings and areas immediately ahead of planned airstrikes targeting Hezbollah. Residents are advised to move at least 500 meters away from designated sites for their safety, according to IDF Arabic language spokespersons. French media has reported that around 800,000 leftists across France joined a major strike, disrupting the work of schools, public transport, and hospitals, as left-leaning trade unions have united to oppose budget cuts and demand French government spend more on wages, pensions, and public services, despite the fact that France is already having a deficit problem. Protesters and strikers were waving communist Antifa and Palestinian flags, spotted in some cities. Police had to use tear gas to disperse some protesters in cities. And the activists of the French Revolutionary Communist Party were seen distributing apologies and propaganda texts in defense of the massacres of 1917 Russian Revolution, as well for Stalin and Lenin during the protests today. Obviously not knowing their history and that Stalin was a murderous scumbag of tens of millions. Poland refuses to reopen its border with Belarus, cutting China off from a 25 billion euro a year trade artery. Some 90% of China-EU rail freight moves through Poland, now frozen amid the Zapad 2025 drills and Russian drone incursion. Beijing asked Warsaw to restore the route, vital for platforms like Temu and Shine, but after 3 hours of talks, Foreign Minister Sikorsky said no. Sea routes slower and air transport up to 30% more expensive. Europe's e-commerce supply chains risk serious disruption. And Antifa being designated as a foreign terrorist organization would follow these steps. Number 1, Secretary of State would have to initiate the proceedings and designate it as a foreign terrorist organization and can push, but Secretary Rubio holds the power of the pen over the president. Interagency review occurs. At that point, they must show it's a foreign organization. It engages in terrorism and it threatens U.S. nationals and U.S. security. Then there's a consultation period where the Secretary of State informs the Attorney General and Treasury Secretary. Sideboard conversations occurred, media and legal plans are drawn up, and they hit the ground running as the designation occurs. Congress leaders are brought into March in lockstep with the admin's messaging. Congressional notice is made. Secretary of State then notices the Congress 7 days before this designation. Federal Register publication happens, and after 7 days, designation is formally published in the Federal Register. That's a signal it is legally in force. Treasury and the DOJ enforcement happen. Once published, Treasury's OFAC blocks its assets. DOJ prosecutes its material support. DHS adds to watch lists. And what would the signal it's occurring? Well, formal State Department press release using the phrase designated as a foreign terrorist organization pursuant to Section 219 of the Immigration and Nationality Act, appearance of the group's name in the Federal Register, 7-day congressional notification period, usually reported to the press once delivered, and a coordination statements from the Treasury or OFAC sanctions, DOJ material support liability, and DHS immigration implications. And the public versus the secret. The proceedings themselves, the intelligence, and the deliberations were classified. The outcome and designation is always public by law. It must be published in the Federal Register, communicated to Congress. Until these steps occur, President Trump's designation indicates a change in tack from the administration on their prosecutorial and investigative focus, not any actual activated enhancement of legal, financial, or rhetorical sanctioning. And a drone with explosives that entered Lithuania in late July was launched from Belarus. The UAV contained an explosive device, a modern onboard computer, and a SIM card. Delphi reports Lithuania's defense ministry has not yet commented on the publication. On July 28th, the drone was spotted at an altitude of 200 meters near Vilnius and later found at a training ground near Kaunas. Friends, that is your crisis report alert for September 18th, 2025. We are brought to you by Augusta Precious Metals. Check out OPES One and the other partners in our partnership area. OPES is giving a 52% discount on their materials until the 25th of September. God bless you all and have a great day.